It's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He's Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and now the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan, Steve. That pod will drop new episodes every Monday, but this is the Shotclock Pod, the best 24 minutes of random NBA thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after week number 6 of the 2025-26 NBA season. Some interesting statistics, some interesting deep dives into teams that nobody saw coming, at least as good as a start as they've had to the season, and a few other things. Let's dive into it. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, guess what? I'm not. I got to get my clock ready. And we're off and running. Boom. All right. Let's start with an interesting statistic. This is stuff I honestly don't pay a whole lot of attention to, but I'm fascinated by this. Fouls per game are up this year. Why, and why does it matter?
There's too many stoppages. So I start out that, and I just realized that the fouls are being called a lot more. And that's why there's stoppages. And that kind of takes the fun out of watching the game, because you want continuity and you want up and down and so on. When I looked it up, I just saw the average fouls being called this year is 45.7 as of yesterday. So I don't know about last night, but whatever. But last year, the average fouls being called by the officials in a game was 37.2. That's 8 more, 4 per team. That's a lot more stoppage. By the way, the games have become longer as well. So those are problems. And as a fan, people want action. They don't want to see constant fouls. My sense being, the NBA a couple of years ago went through a time where they weren't calling as much. And there was a lot of contact that players were getting away with. This year, the NBA has decided, the officials, this is just a guess, but has decided with the officials that we will now begin to call pretty much whatever, everything. So the game is changing in that way. It could be part of the game being more up-tempo this year, the pace being, so there's more fouls to slow teams down. Could be players being tired. But the bottom line here is, as a fan of the NBA, it's not as much fun to watch because you're seeing constant fouling and from all over the place. And I don't know, it just doesn't, for me, it doesn't seem like a lot of fun. For the cat, what about for you? Have you noticed it? You didn't notice?
No, it's not the kind of thing that draws my attention, quite honestly, but the stoppages do. Now, where I see it, where it frustrates me, is reviews for something as silly as a hit to the neck area or something. I can see that if it's Kevin McHale to Kurt Rambis, of course, you review that. But they're reviewing everything now. And the actual gameplay, the time you spend watching the game, which you could watch a game, it feels like it. I don't even know if this is right, but 10, 15 minutes of action back and forth. You don't see that anymore. There's a stoppage, it seems, every other time down, and that's hurting the game. I don't know, whether it's fouls or reviews or somebody spills something, AKA Jason Kidd a couple years ago. There's stoppages that are ruining the game. I don't know how do you fix it, though.
You're right about the reviews. The thing I find, and I'm going off the subject, but when we talk about the reviews, the things that I'm amazed about is when they do a review on a foul or something, they'll say the contact was marginal. I've tried to figure that one out because if I watch a replay, I don't know if it's marginal. I really don't. And anytime a player gets touched, he's falling down. So I'm having a difficult time understanding when they say contact marginal. If you can determine that, you're good, because I have no idea about that.
And the whole time we've been doing this show, I've never felt more like a couple of old NBA guys talking about back in my day than we did just now.
Going back to what you said about the McHale foul, I thought it was just a regular foul. It wasn't any.
It was back then.
I don't think there was anything that was or bad about it. It was just part of the game. What could I say?
Okay.
Think-
I'm gonna let it. I'm gonna let it go because I'm not sure if you're being serious or not. I gotta let it go because we got more to talk about, guys. The Bulls seem to proving an old sports adage correct. It's something we've all heard. The Bulls seem to be proving it correct. What is that adage, and what's it mean for that team?
Defense wins, obviously. And the Bulls started off 5-0, and everybody was giddy about their new offense. I believe Billy Donovan's a good coach. He takes what he has and tries to make that into a group. But since that start, I believe they lost last night again. So I think they're 4-10, and they're 3-9 in the last 12 games. I didn't see the score of the game last night, but the previous 11, they were 3-8 going into last night. They had given up over 120 points every one of those games, 120 or more in every one of those games. Now, there's a problem. And one of the problems is if you look at how that team is structured, there's no real defensive players on that team. They had Caruso traded 2 years ago. Giddey is a good offensive player, real good offensive player. He can't guard anybody. And Vukovic has never been known to defend. Kobe White's coming back from a calf, and he was never a great defender. So a lot of those players just don't defend well, and they haven't played it real well in the last couple games. So again, if you have one bad defender, you can hide it. If you have two, you have trouble. If you have a bunch, it's not a problem. And that's where the Bulls are. And they just can't defend. So they have quickly, not just back to the pack, but below the pack, back to being a team that's going to be fighting for the playing game. And if they're lucky, when I look at it, there's 11 teams that would be play-in worthy or playoff worthy. Somebody's not going to make it. The Bulls, the Celtics, the Bucks, those are teams that are on the edge that might have a problem. But if I were a betting person, I would bet on the Bulls being the team that doesn't make it. And I think, last thing on that, I think they'll begin to start when they continue to lose. You're going to see Vukovic and Kobe White's going to be a free agent. They're going to be gone. So then everything will go to pieces. Because I don't think they're going to keep these guys. And I think Vukovic is last year also. He's a free agent. So, if you can get something for him, get him out.
If you're not going to be a good defensive team, then your best bet is to put up 140 a night. But they've tried that. Remember the Phoenix Suns, 7 seconds or less. That doesn't work. So, the old adage is right. Defense wins championships. Let's talk about a team that started out rough, but has really improved. And you called it out. You said that the Toronto Raptors would be good this year. But did you expect them to be this good?
They lost to Charlotte last night, so I don't know how good. But they did win 9 straight. And what's very interesting, they started the year 1-4. And in that time, we go back to the defense, in the first 1-4 period, they were giving up 127.8 points a game. That's a lot of points. Since then, they're down around 107 with the winning streak, and not counting last night. The point being, they've decided to defend. The other thing they have, Brandon Ingram, who's played more games this year than he played all of last year, is legit. And he's become their scorer down the stretch, and they use him. What I found very interesting about this team was that they're balanced. They're scoring. Ingram's getting 21.9, but then Barnes is at 20. Barrett is 19, over 19. Quickly's over 15. And then they picked up a guy from San Antonio who I thought could score, but I didn't think he was much. Sandro Manucascia, whatever it is, I can't pronounce it. But he's scoring 10 points a game off the bench. And that's giving them more. The guy that hasn't produced is Grady Dick, who he can shoot, hasn't really played well. But the point being, they have a balanced group. They defend. They've got some guys, Abaji and Shed off the bench, who can really get after it defensively. And it's really picked up. And it seems watching them, they like each other. And that in basketball, that goes a long way. And they're willing to give the ball up to somebody else to get something done. And again, it goes a long way towards into the winning piece. And the big thing was they've been waiting a long time for Scotty Barnes to become this offensive juggernaut. He's not. He's not going to be. He does a lot of other things real well, but he's not a shooter. He's not. And Ingram has been able to fill that and take some of the heat off of Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, it's good to see things happening in Toronto. Now we have to wait and see if they have staying power. Because again, you said they lost last night to a really bad team, which is never a good indicator of a team's trajectory. But things are going good.
They have the Knicks tonight, which is a very interesting situation and an interesting game to watch because we'll learn a lot tonight.
Good early season bounce back for the Raptors. Let's talk about another team that went all in this year. They traded for Desmond Bane. There was expectations where I don't think Toronto had a whole lot starting the season. Orlando did. And so far it's paying off. Orlando's playing good basketball.
1-4 to start the season. Everybody thought, oh my God, they're 11-4 since. Desmond Bane has come a long way. He was struggling shooting around 30 from three. And suddenly he's just taken off. The other night against Detroit, I think he had 30-something. But then he was just great. So he's been a key to it for the Magic. The very interesting thing is, and it'll make you think, Banchero's missed, I believe, the last 8 games. And this is when they've been playing real well. They're, like I said, 11-4 in the last 15. And included in that is 2 wins against the Knicks and 1 over Detroit. That means you're playing some good basketball because those teams are the ones that are considered the good teams. So you're right up there with them. I guess Franz Wagner is scoring 22.8 points a game. Bane is at 18. So they're getting a lot of production from them. I believe Banchero's at 21 or a little over, but other guys like Anthony Black, they're all in double figures. Who else? De Silva's in double figures. Wendell Carter's in double figures. So they're getting a lot of people that are scoring. Black had over, I think, 26 and a quarter the other day against Philly, something ridiculous. And so they're getting contributions from others. And it brings up the question, does Banchero fit? And that's another question for another time, because I don't think you can win unless you do Banchero back. And he can contribute and play with those guys. But I'm really impressed with Franz Wagner. He's just tough. He's slow, but he gets to where he's got to get, and he can shoot. He's a good, real good player. Probably this year, possible All-Star.
Outstanding. Now, you said the last 2 teams we discussed, you talked about their depth and how they've got a whole bunch of people contributing double-digit points. We've talked a lot about how you need the guy who's going to put the ball in the basket with 10 seconds left in the game, the guy you can trust. The guy who's going to bring it every night. Do either of these teams, and we're talking about the Raptors, and I think the Raptors probably have with Ingram, but the Magic, do they have that stud that you need? You think?
I think Wagner and Bane can both play. Bane is probably one of the best, most underrated players where he's real good. Maybe because he played in Memphis, people don't quite realize how good a player he is. And he's strong, he's physical, and he can shoot. I mean, Orlando gave up a boatload of picks, and Paul would have had to match money, but they gave up a boatload. This guy is valuable, and he's playing that way, and he seems like a good team player and a good person, which makes things a lot easier.
No doubt. Good to see things going well in Orlando. Let's see if it keeps going. Another team that things are going well, at least when you consider the expectations, and that's the Phoenix Suns. And now I would wager that very few casual fans outside of Phoenix could name their head coach. But he's made a difference. Tell us about their coach and what difference that he made.
It's Jordan Ott. He came from Cleveland. He was an assistant with Cleveland. And there's people saying that Cleveland struggling this year is a result of him leaving, which I don't know how that is. The interesting thing, Phoenix, they've changed the whole chemistry. Durant obviously is gone. Beal is gone. Booker's still there. And they've changed just how they play the game. Their chemistry is much better. If you watch them, they space well. They shoot a couple more threes a game, shooting about the same percentage, but take a few more per game. But there's one other factor, really, besides Jordan Ott. And I really believe this guy affects winning as well as most players, and more as well as anybody just about in the NBA. It's Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is scoring over 20 points a game. He's the guy that if he's on your team, you love him. If he's on the other, what a pest. He's a winner. I've watched him in fourth quarters just come on strong. He's tough. He'll fight anybody in the league at any time, which could be a problem if you meet up with Steven Adams or somebody like that. But he just affects things and gets teams playing. They play hard because of him, because he's always going at it, and he's got a motor on him. He's dirty. He can be dirty, but he's somebody, if you watch him enough, you just got to like him. And he affects things with the team. And don't forget with Phoenix, and they lost last night, I know, to Denver, but Jalen Green has not played many games this year. He could score. If they get him back, now Booker's got a wingman that can score with him, although Dylan Brooks is scoring for 20 a game, but they're not good enough to win it. And I forgot there's one other factor in this, but they're not good enough to win it, but they are good enough to cause problems. The other factor I missed in this was Mark Williams. Williams is the guy the Lakers in their infinity decided not to take. Williams is averaging almost 13 points and 9 rebounds a game. Also, he's a good rim protector. Now, the big knock, of course, is if he stays healthy. If he does, they've got their center in place for a while. So you need a rim protector, and he's becoming that. So that's where Phoenix is. They're a good watch to see on League Pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched them yet, but I'm excited to. I will say, speaking on behalf of all Laker fans, DeAndre Ayton is putting up 16 and 8. I think maybe they made the right choice. They're getting better production out of Ayton by a little bit than they would out of Mark Williams.
I know you're going to look for any reason to make the Lakers look good, but the point on that was Williams would have been we'll see with Ayton. Let's just leave it there, because if his oatmeal's cold in the morning, he's out for a week. We'll see. We'll see on that one.
All right, open for hot oatmeal in LA. You heard it here first. Let's talk about the 76ers. They're 10 and 8 despite being a mash unit, right? It's hard watching what's happening, but they're playing good basketball. I take that as a good and a bad, right? The bad is obvious, but the good is these guys are going to get healthy. They get healthy at the right time, they could be really dangerous.
If one other person gets hurt and he's played every game, the season's over. That's Tyrese Maxey. He's played every game so far. He's great. He's just flat out great. He can go off at any night. Just has to be defended once he crosses half court. What's interesting is Embiid has missed 12 games already. I think he's going to miss the next one today or tomorrow. Over. George has missed 14. That's over $100 million on the bench. Kelly Oubre is going to be out for a while, and he's already missed 6. VJ Edgecomb's missed 3. Dominic Barlow, who's a nice player, he's missed 9. Trendon Watford, 4. McCain has missed 9. So you start adding it up, and you realize they're on a wing, and Tyrese Maxey. They're trying to get by. Quentin Grimes has played all their games, and he's played well. But and I don't know, they're stuck with George for 2 more years after this, and Embiid, I think, about 3 or 4 more years. I don't know when they're going to get out of that. And so that's going to make it hard for them to win, because you got to spend money. And $100 million is already going out to 2 people. And if you really think about it, who would take Embiid or George? They're not going to deal them. Unless they attach a bunch of number 1 picks with them, because he would want either one of them at this point. Paul George is another one. He's at the point now where when he plays, you want to celebrate. And the same with Embiid. And Embiid, it's a shame, because he was one of the greats in the game, but his legs just aren't. It's not working anymore consistently.
Yeah, tough to see, but hoping for the best for Embiid and the Sixers. Let's pivot. You talked about Paul George, right? A dotted line to the next topic, and that is the Clippers' interest in DeMar DeRozan. Now, this is why there's a dotted line. This flew under the radar. I'm based out of LA area. I didn't hear about this, but I Googled it. Sure enough, there was some mutual interest, or not. I won't say mutual, but the Clippers were at least exploring the possibility. They are already the oldest team in the league. They went all in with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard a few years back. They had their best shot in 2020 and fumbled it. What? What's going on?
You're the LA guy. You tell me.
I can't make sense of this. Unless they're trying to build the best 30 and over team in the history of the NBA. I just don't get it. It just makes no sense.
There's all types of ownership in the game. Some owners like to win, but they stay out of the scene. Steve Ballmer is all over the place, and he's got more money than anybody.
Yeah.
I think in his mind, you're not allowed to lose. So he's going out and just bringing players in and not even thinking of age or any of the other factors that might go into it. And so while he's doing that, you look at the team, draft pick wise, I think they don't have a draft pick for the next 2 years, then they have one. There's not much you can say except they're going to have an incredible collapse at some point because you don't have draft picks. You got old people who are only going to get worse. They're not going to get better. They're not going to hit their best day. DeMar DeRozan, he's going to be a Hall of Famer probably, but he was a real good player. He's a decent player, but he's not a great player anymore. So you're going to collect all these old people. When that crash comes, look out, because it's not going to be pretty. And what in my mind, and I don't think, going back to the owner, I don't think Steve Ballmer thinks that they can lose. Like, he doesn't want them to lose. He just bought the new arena and nobody be in there if they lose. But it just doesn't look good. I don't know a lot, but the only suggestion I would make is start trading all these people and see whatever draft picks you can get. And also get rid of the money, get expiring contracts in return for these people. Get them out like Harden. I don't think anybody will take Kawhi. But all of the other, even Zubats, just get a bunch of draft picks and get some free agents after you recoup some money. Because it's going to be a bad crash. If you think James Harden's going to still be able to play when he's 39 or 40, God bless you. If you think Kawhi is going to continue, he's not playing much now, but if he's going to continue playing in 4 years, forget it. Although I think he's got one more year after this on his contract. You got problems. And then DeRozan, you're going to bring one more. It makes no sense at all.
No, there's no way to spin it. Things are unfortunately spiraling out of control in LA. They had a really good team. They had a really good shot. And that's what you want, right? When you make a trade like what they did, or they brought in Kawhi and traded for Paul George, you want a shot. They had their shot. They fumbled it. And now it's over. I think you're absolutely right. You got to just dismantle the thing and start over, because there's just no other way to get where they want to be. And I'll tell you who's rooting for the Clippers collapse this season more than anybody are the Oklahoma City Thunder, because guess what? They own their number one pick. Can you imagine? Clippers right now, they're going to be in the lottery unless something absolutely changes. Can you imagine the Thunder being the defending champs and coming up with the number one pick? The last time that happened, that was in Los Angeles, and the Lakers got James Worthy. And that was the start of a continuation of that dynasty.
I think the Celtics traded a guy by the name of Henderson in the mid-'80s. And sadly, the number 2 pick, they ended with Lenny Bias.
Lenny Bias, yeah.
Well, I want to get away from this Laker talk, but it's just
fair enough.
It's swivel. But with the Clippers, I don't know any other way out of it. I have to think that the owner wants to win and is saying, go get anybody just to get it. And if this was 2020, maybe those guys, you'd be okay. But right now, the game's going by, and they're just not good enough. They have a couple of young guys that haven't looked bad, but they're not close to being competitive. Harden is the only thing that carries the show.
Yeah, which is tough to see, tough to watch, but everybody in OKC is rooting for the Clippers' demise.
I just want to add something on that. Presti, should be or will be in the Hall of Fame. Think about when a team gets better, and I'm going to use the Knicks. They've gotten better, but they have very little in draft picks.
Yeah.
This guy got rid of everybody and waited a couple of years.
Yeah.
But he still got draft picks left. Anytime a team gets good, you'll find that they'll have traded draft picks to get players, and they really don't have many for the next couple of years. Look at the Lakers I'm bringing your team up, but look at what the Lakers did with LeBron, and they traded draft picks left and right, get players, but they ended up taking second rounders all the time, but because of that. So Sam Presti, what he did, this could go on forever with Oklahoma. And it's really ironic. Probably the smallest market in the NBA
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It boggles the mind. And whenever you see success in the NBA, everybody else tries to replicate it, but nobody's doing Sam Presti like Sam Presti. Yeah, it's beyond impressive. But you heard it. The buzzer went off. Our time is up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We'll link it wherever you're watching or listening to this show today. And of course, please subscribe, comment, follow. All that stuff means the world to us. We appreciate it all. Thank you. Thank you. Join us again next week for more NBA Random Thoughts as we recap week number 7. We'll talk then, Steve. Thank you.
Take care.